This is Kevin and welcome back to another Estes rocket build video. This one we got a special one on tap here. We've got the Dr. Proctor's Space to Inspire kit. Now if you all remember a couple months ago I had the chance to meet Dr. Proctor in person at a signing where she did autographs, and she was actually promoting this rocket that she paired up with Estes to produce and sell. But Dr. Proctor was one of the 4 civilian astronauts that flew on the Inspiration 4 mission, which was a SpaceX Falcon 9 flight that did 2.5 days of orbit. And so it was a real treat to meet a real astronaut, and I picked up this rocket that she inspired. So it is in fact there's a nice picture of her right there. But this is it's a starter kit. It comes with a launch pad and controller and a couple motors and igniters and plugs and all that stuff, in addition to the rocket itself. So it's a pretty straightforward build. I don't know if it's called an RTF or an almost ready to fly. I would say it's pretty much like an ARF kit. But we're going to build it quickly. Let me go ahead and empty the contents and bring up the parts list here on the top right corner, and we will get right into the Dr. Proctor Space to Inspire rocket kit. Okay, we'll do a quick inventory now on the parts. Starting with letter A, we've got half of the fin can, and there's also part B, which is the other half of the fin can. So A and B. Then next we've got 3 fins. Check. Then we've got the motor cap. This will screw onto the fin can and keep the motor in. Then we've got letter E, which is our main body tube. And you'll notice in the body tube is the pre-attached shock cord, which I believe is mounted or attached. Yeah, kind of see down there. It's attached to the launch lug on the inside, so that's in place. And then we got letter F, which is our clear sticker. This is going to go over our launch lug to help keep it down and keep it from peeling off. Then we've got letter G, that's our nose cone. And you'll notice it's got an empty hole here for the nose cone. They call it a pin. It's more of, I think it's a plug. But this is letter H, and it'll plug in right there. And when we get to it, more than likely I'm going to modify this. If I cut this in half, that will allow me to insert an altimeter up into the nose. And you know me, I can't help but modify something just a little bit, but it's a useful thing because that's a lot of dead space if you don't utilize it. So more than likely we'll do that. And last but not least, we've got what looks like an opaque white colored parachute, which I think will fit in nicely with the theme of the rocket. So with that, let me clear the board and we'll get right into construction. Okay, step 1 will be actually gluing the fin can halves together. And if you notice, one side has itty bitty little posts and the other side has itty bitty little holes. I'm just gonna fit those in together and hold it tight till it's dry. So to do that, I've got some Testors plastic cement. And instead of just globbing it on, which will end up making a mess, I'm actually just going to pour out a little bit of a pile here on my paper towel. And then use a toothpick to make, I think, a much better controlled application. And if anything, you want the excess to go toward the inside, not the outside. That'll keep the mess to a minimum. And keep in mind, plastic cement, it's an adhesive, it's a glue, but what it actually does and how it works is it actually melts the plastic, and when you bond them together, the two melt together, and then when they dry as one. So it's a unique chemical reaction that it has. I want to be careful around the threads. Okay, looks good. Now let's see if we can do this without squeezing too much glue out. Not too bad. Swipe down that, but really not much, if any, came out. There's a little bit here kind of poking its head out, but nothing really oozing out. So that made a nice clean install there. I'm just pinching it tight. The instructions say to hold it for about 20 seconds. That seems to be about right. Now the instructions also call for just installing the fins as is. I was debating whether or not I wanted to actually glue them in, but I'll tell you, it's a pretty tight fit, and if I ever need to replace the fins, I would prefer them not to be glued. So I think I'm going to just do it as the instructions call for, and yeah, we're not going to glue them in. At least not now anyway. Okay, so I've been holding this tight. No glue came around the threads. That's good to see. So we can go ahead and install the fins. And then to keep the fins in, we take our motor cap and we thread that on. Again, now you can see why you don't want to do that when the glue is still out in the threads, because then it'll glue this cap on. But no, there's our completed fin can. Looks really good. Now they say that the sunlight will change this pink to purple. Living out in the desert Southwest, I think we're probably going to get a chance to put that to a test, because it definitely is hot enough and sunny enough here to do that. So we'll see if that really works. But there you go. There's your completed fin can. Okay, the next step will be gluing the fin can into the rocket body, and they call for using plastic cement, so I'm just going to use the same cement that I just used. And here we can be a little bit more generous, if you want to say, with the glue, but we'll spread it out well before we insert the fin can. But go ahead and liberally run the glue around in there, and then we'll take our Q-tip and we'll help kind of spread the glue. Okay. And then we'll just take our fin can, insert it in. We're going to spin it to spread it, and we're going to line it up between. So the launch lug is between two fins. You can see how that line's right up there. That looks good to me. Okay, so we're just going to let that sit for a little bit. Let me plug up my glue bottle, get this set aside. And the next thing we can do while that's drying is to apply this clear tape over the launch lug. And what this does, it helps keep the launch lug from ever detaching from the body. And pretty straightforward. They say slap it on, but there's a little trick, and I want to show you. You don't just slap it on. You want to make sure that you get it down into the crevice on each side of the lug. So peel that off, and I'm going to gently set this as centered as I can. Just like that, but I'm not letting the plastic touch the rocket yet. Okay, I'm actually going to pinch the sides up a little bit. And I'm going to take a fresh toothpick and I'm going to work it down into that crevice. There, and now we'll let it lay down and run it smooth. Nice, that way we get less air bubbles and pockets underneath. Okay, we'll do the same to this side. Okay, and then we'll lay it down and press it out. Just like that. So now you can see there's no kind of gap going over the edge. It's making solid contact all around the lug. Okay. Okay, next up we'll be gluing in the nose cone pin or plug. You can see I did modify it. I cut about 2/3 of it off, including the side with the eyelet, and that allows me the space to drop in an altimeter or any other payload I want up in the nose cone. But to replace the eyelet, I did have to drill a couple holes and run a tethered loop out of Kevlar. So I ran that through and I tied the knot off on the bottom side. I did scuff up the rim here a little bit with some sandpaper and also on the inside of the nose cone. So I'm going to take some plastic cement that I've already poured out, and I'm going to spread it on the inside of the nose cone. Let me get this blob here. That way when we insert it, anything that is compressed out will go forward and not out the back and make a mess of the nose cone. Okay. Okay, so get that in there nice and smooth. And we'll just then lay in our nose cone plug. I'm gonna spread it a little bit. There. Now that'll bond and form a nice hard connection. Okay, so that takes care of the nose cone. Okay, the last step, we'll be taking the tethered shock cord that's already attached to the rocket body, and I'm going to tie a double knot into the Kevlar loop that we created in the last step. I'm just going to tie a double knot here. Just like that. And for added measure, I'm just going to put a little dab of wood glue on the knot, just to make it stick so it won't untie in flight. Okay, and then I'm also going to take some scissors and cut off this little tail here, just like that. Okay, so now we can just do a quick fitting of everything. We'll get the shock cord down the tube, insert the nose cone, and there you have a complete Space to Inspire rocket. So what makes this nice is it's a fairly large rocket, but it calls for C motors, so I'll be able to fly this on a C5 or a C6 pretty easily. So I will well, really the only thing we did not show is how to attach the parachute, because everyone has their own preference on that. I'll probably use a different parachute anyhow, especially in the cold weather. I like to use the nylon chutes, but I'll determine that when I go fly it. So, but that wraps up this build. Again, this was a really quick build, easy build, but fun. It's a beautiful looking rocket. I'm anxious to see what those fins do when the sunlight hits it. So that wraps up this rocket build. Thanks everybody for watching. God bless, and we will see you in the next video.